Today I've got a couple of specimens of a really interesting arachnid. These are called Amblypygids, or tailless whip scorpions, which is really not a very good name for them because they're not scorpions and those aren't whips. These came in through the pet trade. A friend of mine gave me these and they had died, and so I'm going to make specimens out of them. These have been frozen for quite a while, maybe like even a year. So I think the bodies, they're a little bit freeze-dried. Usually I soak arachnids in alcohol for a while before I pin them up, just so they dry out better and they don't collapse as much. But I think these are good enough to go just as they are. Now this one's missing part of a leg. The leg is broken there, you see that? But I've got another leg from a different specimen, and it's the appropriate size. I've matched it up to the other side, so I know it's the correct size. So I'm going to do a repair on that. But other than that, the specimen's in very good condition. This particular species is Damon medius, which is the West African member of the genus. The more common in the pet trade East African species is Damon diadema. It has slightly longer pedipalps than this one. But they're very interesting looking. And I can see I've got a break here in the antenniform leg as well. It's still attached, but that's going to need to be reinforced. So now we're going to pin it up. Let's go. I'm going to use a fairly large pin. I think this is about a 4. It's a pretty big specimen. And I'm going to put it right through the center of the cephalothorax. It's pretty hardened on these, and right through the center, sort of towards the bottom. And I want to get that pin nice and straight. Now you can always tell if you've come through straight when you look on the bottom and see where it's come through. I could go a little bit more to one side. I can't stress enough how important it is to get the pin through straight in the first place, because it really helps everything else come out a lot better. Okay. Now I'm going to use this end of this styrofoam here, and we're going to get the pin anchored straight in the styrofoam as well. We can look at it from the side, from the front. Oh, it's a little bit crooked. And again, this is important as well if you're going to get a nice looking specimen. Just make sure everything's straight. Okay. Now I'm going to brace the abdomen so that the specimen doesn't spin around on the pin. Actually, I'm going to brace it right behind the rear set of legs because the abdomen's not that firmly attached. There. And then we can start just putting the legs out into roughly the position we want it in, just to get it everything sort of laid out, and we can make more adjustments later. And again, I always try to position the appendages in a way that makes a specimen that look natural for the specimen. We sometimes see specimens where the legs are sort of placed in unnatural positions, and I don't think it does the specimen justice. It really makes it look, I don't know. It's like, it helps if you have seen the animal alive to know in which ways they actually do move. I'm going to get these antenniform legs out of the way here. These are really remarkable adaptations of evolution, turning a leg into an antenna. This one broke off, which isn't that surprising. I'm going to have to work on that. Extraordinarily long, that is. I'll move this one up out of the way. It's going to need to be repaired. There. Let me get these hind legs positioned. These run along flat surfaces. They're very fast. and they're very good at holding on to flat surfaces, cave walls or sides of trees and buildings, inside buildings. Very, very fast moving. There. I'm going to brace this pedipalp and raise it up a little bit, which is how it would look if it was alive. I've only kept very small ones of these alive. They're not that easy to get. I had a very small one for a time. Got stuck in a molt. As you can imagine, because of the extreme shape, it's fairly easy for them to have a bad molt if it's not humid enough, or some appendage gets stuck. They can that'll kill them if they can't shed their exoskeleton properly. All right, now I guess I'm going to try and repair this leg first. This one's broken off right here, and I've got another leg. I could pull this leg, the broken one, out and then just replace it with this entire leg, which, I don't know, maybe that's what I should do. You can see on this leg from another specimen this light colored flexible bit coming out. This is like the attachment that goes inside the body of the animal. So when I pulled this leg off, it just pulled it right out. It's sort of like a ligament, if you will, to attach that leg. I could just cut this leg and splice it here, but yeah, I think it'd be better if I didn't cut the leg. I'm gonna pull this piece out and try and just glue this whole leg on. I think that might be less damage to the specimen. So I'm gonna try and remove this leg in the same way that I removed this one from the parts specimen. I'm going to grasp it with my fingers here. I'm going to use my tweezers to try and just pull. Oh, broke it off. There. Now, to get this to stick in a way that will stay, I'm going to take a very small pin. I think I'll go with a 2. Make sure that fits well in there. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll go with a 2. Alright, so I'm going to cut off an end section of this pin and insert it in the leg. So I've got some side cutters here. And I'll take, I can go a little longer because this leg is pretty long here. I have plenty to insert it into. I'll cut it a little less than half. And I'm going to use a little bit of glue to anchor the pin in the leg. I'm going to remove this material here, so it'll just be in the way. Cut it off. There. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the opening. It's a little bit clogged. Put a little dot of glue on this leg in the opening. There we go. And then insert the dull end of this pin into the end of the leg. I won't go in very far because there's a joint right there, and I don't want to interfere with that joint, but that's enough that it will hold it. And then I'm going to put some glue on the pin a little bit so that it is attached in the leg section. There. I'm going to take the pin and hold tight that with the tweezers. Ah, there we go. And then push it right up till it nestles in. There. And that glue dried around that pin will really hold that leg in place. And when this thing is set to dry, I'll make sure that that's anchored properly. But there, see, that looks pretty good. You can't even tell. And then just get these legs set up so they're nice and straight. There, I like to have the tarsi bent just a little bit at the end so that you can see how that works. I'll flex this joint slightly too. There. Okay. Now, since this glue hasn't dried yet, to lift this leg kind of carefully, I'm going to use pins and brace this lower leg up. So it's up with the other one. Yeah. Push that in a little bit. Yeah, that should work just fine. And then we'll get the end of the leg positioned. Bend that joint slightly. Yeah, that looks good. We'll move this other leg out a little bit so that it's in roughly the same position. And the front leg, we'll brace that up a little bit on both sides. Yeah. And then adjust the front part of the leg. And on this side, pin's in the way here. Move this out a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, these antenniform legs, I'm going to have to do a repair. This is a little tricky because they're pretty fragile. I get the base of the antenniform leg where I want it. I think I'm going to start with this other one first, so I can get a sense of where it's to be positioned. The broken one's going to be a little harder to position. I'm going to take a pin, put a little bit of glue on it, and I'm just going to rub this glue into this fractured leg here, and hopefully that the surface tension of the glue will just hold that together. Yes, it's working really well. Smear it a little bit. Yeah, that's working. And I'm going to brace that. Oops. On both sides. I'm going to move this brace up a little bit. So it's braced on both sides of the fracture. The fracture is right in the middle. And I can probably take tweezers and just pinch it a little bit to push those both sides together. Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I want the end to bend around and go forward a little bit, so I'm going to have to brace this leg a little sturdier. Yeah, I'm going to a couple above and a couple below. so that when I bend the end around, it doesn't stress the repaired bit. There we go. Bend it right around like that. Yeah, like it's not quite a little bent here where the fracture is. I'll try and straighten that out. Yeah, it's having a little bit of a hard time. Adjusting the brace, and put a little bit more glue on that joint to help smooth it out. Try to smooth it a little bit. Oh yeah, that's very good. This end of this joint is not holding the flex. I may have to deal with that before I go any farther. Now, I'm going to take a little piece of moist towel and wipe the glue off the outside of it. I'm going to take a pin and push the flexible part of that joint in a little bit. Alright, it's tricky. There. I don't know if you can see that, but I've gotten that end bit flexed. I'm just pointing out like this, and I've got the end bent that way. See if the angle matches up. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on that joint because it's not staying in place, and let that dry. It'll just take a few minutes. It's just water-based glue here, and then that joint will be at the correct angle to receive the rest of this antenniform leg. So it's been a few minutes now, and this joint is dry, and I've also, while I was waiting there, I repositioned the legs a little bit and got them a little straighter. So now I just need to attach this antenniform leg. I'm going to put another drop of glue on the tip where it goes in, and on the tip of the leg that I'm trying to attach. There. And I'll set them together. There. Now I can position this segment so that it matches the other side. Wow, that's pretty good. And now I'll do the pedipalps. See here. I'm going to bring this one in a little bit. You can position these however you like. I like to make them, give it a little bit of dynamic posture so that it looks like it's engaged in the world. Let's see, I have to move this one up a little bit. bit. This one needs to come up slightly. And let's see, so I can come back a little bit. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that looks good. Now we'll just have to let this dry. Now it's been about a week and the specimen is dry, so it's time to pull out all the pins. Yeah, that looks really good. Oh, and a break here. The tip of the antenniform leg broke off. Alright, well, I'll have to fix that. Not too surprising, it's pretty fragile. Alright, so I'll get a little dot of glue and put it on the end of the section. And we'll make some pin braces. And put a little glue on this section. There. We can see that this piece is broken. Just line this up a little bit. Alright, so now the specimen is finished. I've got a couple of others to show you. Alright, so we've got 3 species of Amblypygid here, representing 3 different continents. We have Phryna grossitati from South America, Damon medius from East Africa, and Charon greyi from Indonesia. Now, what this tells us is that the ancestor of these species is very old. It certainly didn't travel. This one certainly didn't travel across the Atlantic or across Pacific to get from one continent to another. So the ancestor of these was present on the Pangea when all those continents were together. I think it started breaking up like 130 million years ago. Also, it's interesting how the pedipalps represent different adaptations. Very long in the Indonesian one, medium length in the African one, and very short in the South American one.